Hello, everybody. Traders the world all over. Welcome, 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 everybody, to the Trading Battle. It's Thursday, June 12th. So happy to have you guys with us. I have a very, very special episode today. We have two veteran traders, Market Sniper with Francis Hunt and FX Big Dog with Gary Fichardt. They both have been in the markets many, many years, have seen it, done it all. I'm very, very excited to have them on the show. This is the Trading Battle, where we trade live for charity, for you. So be sure to do two things. Number one, be sure to follow us on YouTube to make sure that every single trading battle will be notified to you. And number two, please post any comments you have, any questions you have to the traders or general questions about trading. I'll be happy to answer them or ask them as the show progresses. So without much ado, let's get started. We have a great show today. Let me first introduce you to the man, the legend, Market Sniper, who is here with us. He is Francis Hunt with his very, very cool pair of glare glasses. How are you, my friend? Francis, as he likes to say it, is trader first, foremost, and last. And that's what I absolutely love about him. He does not fool around. He trades for real. He trades markets all the time. And he's been around markets for quite a long time. Francis is sort of, I think, famous for just making massive trades. I mean, his specialty is just taking, 10x, 20x kind of trades. He's an expert at finding turns, and I'm going to try to extract all of his magical secrets from him today for your pleasure. And we'll talk a lot about his technique and everything else. And our second trader today is Gary Fichardt, who's FX Big Dog, who's been trading for quite a long time, and certainly knows his way around the FX markets quite well. He has a sort of an interesting hybrid approach to trading, both a hybrid approach in how he enters into his trades and how he just basically analyzes charts. So very, very excited to have, gentlemen, both of you with us. We're coming to you one day after a super big day yesterday, CPI, FOMC. Let me just get your general thoughts. Francis, I almost know what you're going to say, but I'd love to hear it anyways. What are your thoughts on the Fed? What are your thoughts about CPI? What are your thoughts about the U.S. economy and global economy as we stand here right now at the beginning of the summer of 2024?
Wow, yes. I suppose start with the last question first. The global economy. The global economy is in essentially, for the man in the street, a prolonged recession rolling into a depression. I think this time we will get a reset financial system almost. I would say it's 50-50 that the big one is coming.
Wow.
So, it's that bad. The finances are all terrible globally. Wherever I travel around a lot, it's the same in South Africa. It's the same in Europe. It's the same in Panama, with the US markets. It's all the same.
Sorry, by finances, you mean governmental finances? You mean fiscal state of everybody's financing? Yeah.
Yes, government finances in terms of what they're spending. They all seem to be finding reasons to up spending in an environment where they're all kicking off from terrible financial situations, when in fact they should be reining it back. Plus, that up in spending means even more debt supply. So for me, we're going to have a debt-based crisis, which rolls obviously into the fiats. And that's probably going to lead to a dollar interest rate spike. So that's my macro scenario. You mentioned we like big calls. We're on the big time frames. We like the really big moves. And for me, it's going to be a short debt, long gold type. Those are going to be where the haymakers are going to be made. Not overnight, not in an hourly time frame chart, but on the big time frames. Yeah. CPI coming up under. You asked something a little bit more tactical in the here and now. I talk about data having trends. We actually had everything is awesome spell up until about 2 months ago. Then we had our first really dodgy payrolls number, and that was followed up by another mixed bag payrolls number and lots of slowing CPI. So everything is awesome. The economy is great. There was no recession. You've got to take employment into account. They've run out of runway with that narrative now. It wasn't awesome then, and it's less awesome now. And now even the stats aren't hiding it. For the CPI to be down, it's more on account of a crushed consumer. For me. So that's retail and consumer staples. You want to be short there in the equities there. Those side of things. You want to be short on the man in the street, really. I've got to be careful about saying short on equities because of the stagflation. Right. Equities generally, funny enough, because they spill out earnings and yields, and as prices go up, those yields go up in commiseration. They
Right.
can actually be one of the places that do still hold value. So you climb a wall of worry. How can the economy be so bad and equities actually go up? It's that paradox that can still happen, but I wouldn't be in consumer or retail reliance equity staples. So that's
Yeah.
my question.
Gary, speaking of that, it really feels like a two-tier stock market. I saw this incredible stat that 34% of the S&P gain is due to one single stock, NVIDIA. So NVIDIA is literally responsible for 34% of the whole S&P 500 gains. And to Francis's point, I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm certainly definitely seeing it. We're seeing Starbucks fail, McDonald's fail, Dave & Buster's missed yesterday, Kohl's missed the other day. The only consumer that's performing relatively well, I think, is actually Walmart because of very, very good rationalizations. But as far as just the broad general, what I would call the middle class consumer, that is just everybody from Starbucks on up, they are underperforming. And I'm just wondering how long this disconnect can happen. As Francis was saying, the man in the street, I think, it has run the limit of his wage gains to the still very significant cost increases that everybody's facing on their everyday life. How are you reading the situation?
Yeah, that's I agree 100% with Francis because if you actually go back to when he mentioned that we're going to head into this reset. It started with the dollar back in the 70s when the dollar was really the dominant sort of market driver. And so my focus has been over the last probably a year is actually focusing on the dollar movement and look at exactly where the dollar's going. And right now, the dollar is technically set up for a major sell-off. And if that's going to be the case, yeah, we've seen equities rally, and that's that paradox that Francis is talking about. And we're definitely going to get into a place where things are going to turn. Now, regarding data, you know what? We've seen so much data come out, and I always mention this in the live sessions. It's like somebody's got to be fired, right? How many times do we get data coming out every single week, and then the next month it's a revised number? It's
Right,
like,
yeah.
what?
No,
How can you be so
right.
wrong every time but still be hired? Someone's got to be fired, right?
No, there's definitely a lot of noise in the data, and it's very, in a country of 330 million people, it's very hard, and you're sampling 300,000 people or 200,000. It's very hard to come up with a good estimate. There's,
Right.
I think the payrolls number. There was a lot of feedback that I saw on Twitter. And I see this all the time, but this time I think I actually took it seriously. The household survey, which is the survey just actually, not that doesn't have the life death adjustment model, was actually quite weak. Quite weak. And there's apparently a strong, serious Gen Z recession in terms of jobs. So Gen Z is having the entry level jobs for college graduates are becoming more difficult. And that could be a function of the economy tightening up. It could be a function of the companies just deciding they can use AI. Why do they need to cut a kid out of college when they can have AI do most of the Excel work? Or sort of like you can have one person do the job of three at this point. So I do think we are seeing shift, and we're certainly seeing it politically as every major economy, with the exception of UK, is moving rightward populist. As I think we saw the European elections, which shocked everybody, and that is, I think, very much a function of the frustration of man on the street economically, which nobody's.
Yeah, but that's the big lie. You see, Boris, that's the big lie. The big lie right now is that the youth has been taught that, hey, you got to go to college. Now, I agree. There's certain things that you need to have a college degree. But the problem here is the government is subsidizing the colleges by so much money. If you look at how much money is being put into to education, there's so much money being financed to colleges, but what's happening is the colleges are increasing their pricing. So the colleges are making more money. The youth are getting into bigger debt. They come out of college, they can't get jobs to even sustain their living cost, and they end up staying with their folks until they're 35 years old. Yes. That's the problem here. The system is wrong. It's all rigged up and it's wrong, and that's why we're having the problem we're having.
Yeah. Well, on the near term, I think sort of just from a purely trading point of view, it does feel like we're cresting. I'm tired of calling tops, but it does feel very much like we're cresting. So with that said, let's start our first challenge because, we're post FOMC. We have kind of a runway for the end of this show. What do you, and this is obviously an incredibly tight window. I'm going to give you just this 1 hour that we're trading. Open a trade that you're going to close by the end of this show. What's your best call? And I'm going to put it out to Gary first.
Oh man.
Yeah, I'm going to put you on the spot.
Oh man.
Where you think the weakness lies. I'll give you some hints of where I think the easiest hanging fruit is. I'd look at gold because obviously it's most sensitive post FOMC. Maybe I'd look at euro. Whatever you think is worthwhile. I'm looking at FX. I'm looking at indices, and indices are actually finally acting positive as we open up, because it looks like the market is still going on risk fumes from yesterday. I'm just turning it around to my other screen here.
Is the equity market open yet stateside? Can I ask?
No, it has not. It's the equity market opens up in 1 hour, basically in 1 hour. So this is all pre-market, but there's a lot of pre-jockeying position. The S&P is up 22 basis points. The Dow is down 20 basis points. NASDAQ is up 72 basis points, and gold is actually down 139 basis points. That's sort of my to me, that was these. I saw it when Powell hems and haws, and we can talk a little bit more about this later. In terms of, I think the Fed is kind of trapped, right? They pretty much know that the economy has crested, but they did not want to cut rates just yet because they're afraid of fueling the inflation gauge. At this point, and it's just as they waited too long to start tightening, I think they're going to wait too long to start loosening. And obviously, the higher the interest rate yield is, that hurts gold in the near term, because gold is a non-yielding asset. So gold is reacting, I think, to the fact that there is not a unreasonable chance to think that the Fed may not cut at all this year if we just maintain. Although listening to Francis, he's probably going to tell you that by September, the Fed is going to be cutting 50 basis points a session because we're going to be in the midst of a recession, right? We'll see.
Not true. I don't think they can cut that much because the debts, no one wants the debt.
Yeah.
You've got to upvalue the debt to cut. So the problem they have is there's no bid under the reason why they're delaying cutting. Everybody thinks it's because they care about you. No, it isn't. They care about how much they're going to have to buy their own bond market for the extra valuation that they'll be telling the market that the debt market is worth.
You mean if they cut rates, buyers go away, so they become the buyer of last resort, and they just don't want to expand their balance sheet anymore? They already have. That's sort of the reason why they keep.
They're already lacking buyers in debt. They've been. So the interesting news flash was, China. Like suddenly China now blogs their investment decisions for Bloomberg. Apparently, China stopped buying gold. This is the whole story.
That was a big story.
Yeah. So first of all, when you're a big buyer, the last thing, and you move markets, the last thing you're going to do is going to make public announcements about what you're trying to do.
Yeah,
so that's BS. What they're trying to do is they're trying to, and the narrative for you is you should stop buying gold because China stopped buying gold. While in actual fact, China doesn't want everyone to get. There's been a lot of wind given where we've revealed that the China's actually discarding treasuries, and this is why I mentioned this, because we were talking about the debt side, disregarding and selling treasuries and accumulating gold. So that then crowds all the retail market in that, and they don't want that. So they will say, we heard that they done buying, to try put retail off the
because they don't want retail front running their position.
100%. They want to get back in lower and keep buying. So they will nibble more discreetly, but they're going to continue to disregard debt. Let's remember, 1 trillion every 100 days, new supply. Why do you want to hold an asset when new supply is coming in at that rate?
Yeah, that's true. Okay, Gary, anything on your screens that looks interesting? You want to maybe share your screen with us?
Oh, my bad. I actually thought I was sharing my screen already. So let me go ahead and do that.
We just see your pretty face.
Oh man, that's not good. That's not good. All right, so let's do this and share tab. All right, there we go.
Okay, here we go. Yep.
All right, perfect. Okay. All right. So So if we're looking at a trade that's going to be closing out today, there's a couple of things that are happening right now. So first, if I go to the news and I take a look at the calendar for today, let's go ahead and pop that open here. There we go. We can see that we've got some CPI numbers coming out or just about in 10 minutes.
Yeah, PPI. Yeah.
Sorry, PPI numbers. Sorry.
Right,
and then we've got some Canadian. So not a lot. I don't think this is going to be a powerful enough move, but I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to Ethereum. Go to the crypto market, especially if you're looking for some short-term gains. What I like about the Ethereum at the moment right now, it's gone ahead and sweep the high here at the third wave or second wave high. We've also seen a nice breaker block that the market's traded above. It's come back into that breaker block, and then we've come back to a fair value gap right here based on this range that we've just seen rally up here. If I take that information, I'll go down to the lower time frame because now we're going to trade more intraday. Then I'll look over here, and I'd love to trade NQ right now, but that's not going to happen. But let's just take a look over here. So we've gone ahead and tested the highs. The market's created a fair value gap. We haven't seen a market shift yet on the 15-minute time frame. I'm almost certain I'll pick up something on the 5-minute here, and yes, I have. The market's tested there. We've broken through that, so we have had a market shift right here. We're at a level of support. So if we look at an intraday move, I'm at the bottom of this move, which means that I should be expecting price to move back up. Right. So let's go ahead and throw in a trade on this. Right. I'm going to go ahead and do a buy, and I'm buying it. Let's go ahead and buy Ethereum right here. I'm just going to throw the trade in right now. There it is. We are now in.
Okay.
I want to just take a look and see if I've got enough equity on here. But yeah, it should be good. But yeah, I'm long right now on Ethereum. And it's really just a simple move, right? We've seen some nice structure on the daily time frame. Right. We've seen some good inefficiencies right here. And with that inefficiency, we see that the market's gone ahead and rebalanced itself on this fair value gap, and so there should be some upside rally in the next well, at least how many hours we got? 8 hours, right?
We got about an hour before the end of the show, so we'll see how it's traded. But
hold on, you said the end of the show?
End of the show. That was yeah. It's okay.
I thought it was the end of the day. It says the end of the day.
Well, maybe we'll make it end of the day. We'll check in at end of the show to see where it goes. But,
no problem. All right, well, end of the day, that's fine. Then I'll have to load it up. All right.
Francis, what are you thinking?
Yeah, some interesting stuff there from Gary. I just the reason I asked about equities, whether they were open, I'm a bit behind I'm international, so I'm always getting the wrong time zone. The one thing that was super interesting was the big Apple blow off. So is my screen showing? Am I sharing or am I
coming up right now? Okay.
Yeah, great. Okay. So just on the 2 hour here or on the 4 hour, there was a real surge. So this was headline making stuff. Apple new market cap all time high.
Right.
There wasn't actually.
This is off their AI announcement. Yes.
That's right. It wasn't earnings related. And people love narratives. So I just want to give a general narrative on Apple. It's very much the procurement guy. The innovator is gone and the procurement guy is in charge. So recently, it was Facebook that grabbed Instagram and secured WhatsApp. Tim Cook very much cash cowing. The innovations, that's just smaller phone, better camera stuff now.
Right.
So I feel Apple is cash cowed. They're doing this AI announcement. I think you're going to get AI in Microsoft. You're going to get it in everything. You're going to get it in Google, that I think has a much more advantageous position. So for people that like narratives, I think Apple will probably cease to be the big goat long term. But more, the reason why with an hour, this is interesting. You've had what I would call a blow off event on news.
Interesting.
So this would be a corrective short term. So for the hour, I would, unfortunately, the market's not open, but I would say short Apple at the open, even though it's quite counterintuitive because you're getting general S&P support that you were pointing to. I think this news announcement, everybody's going to go, but everyone else is going to come for another story. So whenever there's big hype, they're still very good at the Steve Jobs hype model. You know, the black screen and the polar neck and the jeans. They're pretty good at banging those up, and there's always Robin Hood suckers ready to charge it up on the day. I would fade that trade at the open. That would be probably something I would do.
So looking at this chart, I'm just curious. This is a daily chart that you're showing me. Is there anything on a particular daily chart that really perked up your ears as to why this is a blow off top? maybe you can.
I've got bad trade. Your particular brokered stats are a little bit off here. I think there was a
right.
stock
Yeah,
split
sorry.
that didn't
I
get
guess
done.
it must have a gap.
So I can't really give you. Let me try get a framing for macro. And try reframe that because we got a data blip. It's probably a stock split that
it's
never
probably
got
a stock
corrected.
split that like
So it's always a bit of a pain for the big time frame technical analysis.
right.
Look, generally it's still an uptrend, by the way, because you've been in an equity uptrend. So you are making higher highs. Remember, there's a difference between an hour trade and a grand macro. I still think the stock market can crawl higher. I just think for the hour, I would have been tempted by that one quite a bit.
Right.
Generally, yeah. So that just as a narrative for
it.
the hour, but we missed that, so it doesn't count. I was interested to see Gary talk talk about ETH. The one thing I would say about cryptos is you need BTC to dance with whatever direction you take on cryptos. Right. So for everybody who's watching, for the hour, you need to also ascertain if Bitcoin's going to dance. If Bitcoin's going to ease slightly up, I think it will a little bit. It's had quite a nasty sell-off. Right, there's a problem with the 67K. It keeps coming back to revisit the 67K. So I'll just draw that line up. We were supposed to be getting away. We've expected more out of it. And the truth is, since this narrative of the ETFs have gone, that's largely run. The ETH ETF story fell a bit flat. ETH had 1 or 2 days of a little bit of a zip, and then its relative performance to BTC has been behind. Right. There have been new stars that have been outperforming. We actually like TON. I don't think it's one you make available. So if I was taking a trade on crypto, I would go long TON BTC. I just don't know if you guys have it. So it's either going to have it or not. But this is kind of, it's a top 10 one. It's ahead.
F Peloton. Yeah, Peloton, but not TON.
Yeah, so it's not on your platform. I'll have a look if no, that's a different one. Yeah. So for those watching something else, we like TON BTC a lot. That's a pretty great chart at the moment. So it should be one I would take to the long side. Right. Bitcoin is probably going to float back up a little bit. So I think that's going to support Gary. I don't think he's going to do too badly on the ETH side, but I just don't think it's super powerful. I just think it's near lows. So it's supporting off the 67, but it's coming back to lean on it quite a lot. But it's just done that, and now it might get a little bit of a reflation. So that's
here's what we're going to do for this particular challenge to kind of make it equal. We're going to do this for end of day instead of end of hour, because it's the kind of artificial stop that we have. We're going to short Apple on the open, and end of day we'll mark Francis's mark to market trade, and then we're going to let Gary have the Ethereum trade run for end of day, and then we'll compare the results that way.
So I'll go on. The one thing you haven't mentioned is sizing. Can we be commiserate sizing? Is there a standard sizing? Like we're both doing 100K.
The sizing is literally given. Everybody has the same amount of leverage, but the sizing is very much up to you. So depending on how confident you are in the trade, how much because there'll be 2 more other trades you're going to be able to take, and you can disperse your sizing that way. So you can let us know, and we'll size it to your specifications and trade it. And everybody be sure to come in and check with us, and we'll be able to tell you how those trades are working out. But for now, we're going to basically make it ETH against an Apple short. I have one question from the audience regarding our first challenge. Why is crypto a good short-term trade, or is crypto market good for short-term gains as a sort of a short-term trading instrument? I'm actually curious. Both of you guys traded. What do you think, Francis?
So first of all, people like markets that move when you're doing short-term time frames.
Right.
And the more volatile they are, the more tendency you're going to get some degree of movement, even on dull days. I don't think it's a particularly trending market right now for crypto. We're in a kind of pullback phase following the Bitcoin high. Right. So, but even still, on the lower time frames, crypto moves more than non-trending markets in other categories like FX and other things. So you're going to get more percentage moves. So the general answer is crypto is going to give you more movement, but that's good and bad. So you've got to be accurate. And when it's in a churny phase, it can go up and then give it back as quick as possible. So it's in very much a churny pullback phase. So you want to take profits. You want to have a clear idea and you want to take them. Because as you saw with the Bitcoin chart, let me just leave the yen. and this is the most stable of the cryptos as the bigger market cap.
Right.
You were at 65, boom, you were at 70, and back down to 67.
Right. This is a 2-hour chart, and you basically had like a 5,000 point 5,000 point move in a matter of less than a day. So yeah, it's just
100%. Yeah, you grab the brass ring and then you crap the bed all in one session.
All in one session, right? Yeah. How about you, Gary? Like, do you ever trade crypto on a short-term basis? And what would you define as a short-term basis for you for crypto? Like, well, is it an hourly trade? Is it a 4-hour trade? What's a short-term trade for you on crypto?
So I don't do short-term trading on crypto. I'm more of a buy and a hold on crypto, and I've got a big portfolio in crypto, and it's a little more long-term. But crypto is at the moment right now. If you were looking to possibly look for some short-term gains, then crypto would be at the same. Crypto and the futures market. I'm not talking about options. I'm talking about day settlings, right? So we're looking at some short-term gains in the crypto market, and the whole fact that the crypto market is slightly sideways right now creates the biggest opportunity, because now you can load the risk for higher short-term gains. So that's pretty much what I've done here, and you can see right here, if you look at my chart and pull it up, you can see what I was looking at here on the chart. This is the reason why I bought. We saw the bottom right here. We had a nice little spike up to the upside here at 8:30. This is with the news. So the news came out showing probably a little weaker move. We see the Dow actually ticking up higher, and we saw a little spike over here. I'm looking at the if we go to the dollar right here, the dollar's also tanked a little bit down at the bottom right here. So we're getting a little bit of a weaker move on the dollar. If I actually take a look over here and look at the data reporting today, that just once again.
Yeah, thanks for doing my job. You're telling the PPI came in really cold. Look at, the equity market just popped. I saw it.
Yeah,
and we'll be talking about that in just 1 second. But look how nicely your ETH is working. Your ETH is really working nicely. As the risk trade is going on. Francis' trade we're going to place on the open, which will probably be pretty good if your thesis is right that Apple kind of craters out. The open is going to be the climax buy, and then we'll rest of the day maybe it'll start fading out.
So making a decision, if I may, Boris, just before major data is tough. You wouldn't normally do what we've just done, because actually equities are more likely to be supported now and dollar more likely to be weak. And I just want to refer, this goes back to trends in data that I pointed out. I would be unders now consistently on everything, and we would have been accurate on that, which is actually a little spell of weakness for dollar, which could be supportive crypto and actually the equities. So you might want to use a limit order. You might get that initial tick on the up with the PPI number. So you would ideally want a limit order on the Apple trade. I haven't given details like that. I haven't had time to examine it close enough because I thought we wouldn't be trading it.
Right. But, in trading battle, there are no limit orders. I make everybody do markets. The only thing that my producer wants to know from you, Francis, is what sizing you want to give. Do you want to do one lot on Apple or?
Yes, $100,000. So one lot, if that's $100,000.
We'll do one lot on the open, and that should be a really interesting battle to that against ETH for the rest of the day. Gents, I want to step away from the market for just 1 sec and talk a little bit about what we do here at Trading Battle, which is we trade for charity. And I want to talk a little bit about each of the charities that you support. We'll start with Gary with his Giddy Up Ranch, which you've sort of supported before. Could you give us just a little bit of a brief on what these guys do, and why you support them, and just a little bit about the charity itself?
Yeah, so it's actually an organization out in just north of where I stay right now. It's actually very good friends of ours as well. But at the same time, we've seen over the years, we've known them for about probably about 15 years, and we've been here 16. So that's about as much as we know them. So and what they do is they have this ranch where they have all these animals, and they do animal therapy on the children the needy children,
right.
And so we've seen how it changes people's these kids' lives. It's amazing how these animals create such a different personality, and so it's an organization that we feel very close to, and we're very supportive of what they're doing.
You know why I really love this idea, and I actually think it should be universal for every child. We all know at this point that we have children, or if we have grandchildren, whatever, the absolute epidemic of social media, screen-based, what I would call personality disorder, right? I mean, all of our kids are in many ways disfigured, including us ourselves, by social media in terms of just being, attached to the screen. So the idea of taking kids out into nature and having them deal with other living animals and caring for them and showing responsibility, such an amazing process in terms of just making them into much better human beings. I think, it's wonderful. I mean, I love that, not just as a charity, but it's just a general project for the whole OECD, as all of our kids just become obese little
Right.
game playing machines.
Right. Now they focus on special needs children, but the personality changes as soon as they get in front of these animals, and that's and also just their sort of capability of doing things becomes a lot more enhanced once they starting to interact with these animals, which is just fantastic to see.
Yeah. Amazing. Great charity. Francis, I'm sorry, I don't have the notes for your charity, but I know you were doing, I think, the similar charity. If you could enlighten us as to what charity you're trading for and tell us a little bit about what it does, I'd love to know.
Sure. So I'll put it up on the screen if you can show that.
Yeah.
My heart probably belongs to Africa with all its faults and failings. And I think the single most basic thing that everybody should have access to is clean water to drink. So we can go quite a few number of days without eating, and it can, we even fast like that.
Right.
But water.
I think, is it 48 hours? Pretty much that's it. Like,
Yeah. And you are a battery, and that's minerals and water.
Yes.
That's all the electric systems that runs your nervous system. And just to drink bad or polluted water is ruins your stomach, does all sorts of things. So just getting clean water to basic right. I think it's almost, that's one thing I would say. I'm not one for welfare, but I would start with everyone having clean access to clean basic fresh water. Is something that I would consider almost a human right.
It's foundational. Like all infrastructure is foundational. You don't have to be a socialist to believe in infrastructure, which is just foundational for society. That's really what society is all about. And then let everybody thrive after that. I agree with that. That's a wonderful project. And so what is this? This is a charity that creates potable fresh water. What is it? What kind of projects does it work on to create fresh water?
It's often with water. It's also about it's clean. It's got to be clean. So it's the filtration and ensuring that it's not polluted, and then it's also the logistics of getting it around to where it's needed. As I say, it's often the kids that are fetching because they're the little ones and they get the task and they don't understand these things. So just the education, the training, and the ability to have, you see this faucet over here, that's like a village. For the village, they have an access point where they can get it. And it's everybody knows it's gone through a certain minimum set of circumstances, and that there's no one getting a cholera out of this or anything like that.
In Middle East, they have just made massive strides in desalination, and essentially they used to have all the same problems that Africa did in terms of water conservation. Now they're just swimming in water because of desalination expertise. I can't imagine that that technology hopefully will be translated into filtering water in Africa as well. It'd be a great challenge for us.
And I want to add one final thing to that. There is no shortage of water. There's lots of World Economic Forum scare tactics and everything. We are absolutely drowning in water, especially as you mentioned, desalination. What we have is a lack of will for distribution of clean water. So don't believe the story that wars have to be fought for water. Those are people who like to sell wars. There's no shortage of water. There's no need to not have shortage of clean water.
Right. And I'll add to that, there's probably no shortage of oil either. I mean,
yes, in the same bracket. It's the same tactics, only it's even more rudimentary water.
I've really been red-pilled that, this whole idea that we have lack resources is nonsense. We have more resources than we know what to do. I agree with you.
It's a great selling line for people that want a whole bunch less people on the planet.
Correct. I agree. Anyways, we have just, Gary was kind enough to show us live data. PPI popped. I see there was a little bit of a knee-jerk reaction on the S&P, but given that we have essentially a clear trend here, and this is an interesting trend because I think you can look at it two ways. You can say, well, it's positive that inflation is declining. Or you could say this is really a precursor to low demand. That means the reason prices are dropping is because demand is falling off a cliff, and they got to start scaling back. And that is interesting, I think, in of itself. So, given all of that background, what would you trade? I'm going to lay out to you for you. What is a trade that you would make in the wake of all of this U.S. data, which is sort of what we see is weakness in the consumer, lower CPI, lower PPI data. A very controversial payrolls number where the headline number was hotter, but the household was lower, and we're always, of course, worrying about the revisions. I guess the ultimate question is, how do you read demand, and what trade would you make given your view of the macro demand? So I'll ask Gary first. What do you think would be the trade off of the most recent U.S. data where you'd like to make your play here?
Hold on a second. I went first,
and I'll limit you. You guys.
I'll go.
Oh, sorry, Francis. You want to go first?
I'll go,
but I'll limit you. You got to make trades only in equities, commodities, or FX. So no crypto on this one. So tell me what you.
Okay. Yes, 100%. So interesting. Just to add to your setup, to your question, Powell even squeaked that there's an argument to be made. I'm paraphrasing now, that payrolls overstates employment. So we've called it the fake number. We do live trading days on it, but what the birth death model and all of these shenanigans are essentially secret herbs and spices, the KFC style. So I tend to always take the number a bit more with a very big pinch of salt and wash my mouth afterwards as well. So with that said, I think we're in a downturn, and folks should consider macro positioning that sees an event suddenly unfurl. You see, the Fed you also said something very interesting. They cut too late, they start too late, and they cut too late. And the big thing about a Fed is he needs enough points of reasons before he shifts. Otherwise, it's inertia. They stay where they are. So they are inherently inert, and it has to be bleeding obvious and had a number of times. Otherwise, they're deemed as being twitchy-fingered, zipping. The worst than being late is zigzagging and U-turning. So they'll always rather choose to be late. They're going to be late. I agree with your assessment. They're late all the time. And we had a recession when we met the criteria for a recession, which was 2 contraction quarters. Right. So that was a long, long time ago, and it hasn't got any better. And what's getting baked in is high interest rates. So the positioning should be for a disinflationary event in terms of asset pricing, generally, if you're talking big time frames. Now, we're doing something on an hour and a day session here, but I'm talking beyond that. I would position for that side of events, which would be disinflation. It could be quite a bit of risk off. So, you could get a sell-off in the equities. You might want to look at the super thrillers that have run really hard. They could correct quite strongly. So the likes of
super thrillers, you mean the Mag 7, the really, really hot techs that have really. Yes. So if you sort of, let's say, you weren't as erudite in picking out which one of the Mag 7s you want to shoot, wouldn't it be more intelligent to simply short Nasdaq? Isn't this an argument ultimately that Nasdaq has a relative danger? In other words, if you wanted to do maybe a pairs trade just to hedge your bets, you might want to get short Nasdaq, long Dow, because the Nasdaq will collapse more in percentage terms than the Dow would in a disinflationary environment.
Yeah, I tend to feel that. We talk about 3 impulses in an up move. I'm hoping you can see.
Yeah, I'd love to see your chart. I was going to ask you for that. Let's
yeah. Can you see? And are you also seeing annotations if I'm annotating here?
Well, yeah. If you put anything on the chart, we see it. Yes.
So is this being in view?
We see your trend line. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're seeing a pink one. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So for us, we've already had a 3 impulse. We talk about 3 impulse rising wedges. And you've got your 3rd impulse there that pulled only to our splitter, which is what we call a halfway mark in that rising wedge. So I've done a rising wedge in there, and then I'm showing you a half pullback, and you've actually popped out the top. We call that a little bit of a blow off, out the top move. So for me, Nasdaq is pretty pricey. Now, there's many people that have been carried out to the morgue shorting the Nasdaq. Don't get me wrong. Index shorting is is a tough old game, because
Yeah.
you're talking about we're in an inflationary environment. So you get your timing wrong, or you don't understand money management, you will get killed. This is not for everybody. And all of that. But when you get this right, you can get it very right. And I think that time is not too far off for a bit of a correction. That's not saying I'm a long-term bear, but when we get the disinflationary event, the cure means you snap back equally strong and you make new highs. So please see it in the context of that. But I think something corrective is probably not too far away.
I want to ask you a tactical question, because you really raised a really important point. You got to, you have a great chart, you have a great thesis. But this is not the time to short. Like if you were sort of trading this particular chart, which is what this is, the daily chart, wouldn't it be tell me if I'm right? Wouldn't it be tactically more intelligent for NASDAQ to break the upper trend line? In other words, to come back through the trend line to show a definitive, a little bit of a top here before you would get comfortable initiating it, like that, something like that. If you had that kind of price action, you'd be a little bit more comfortable taking that short, because then you have a definitive stop point and you are not guessing the top. You have a top made by the market.
Look, there's two sides to that question. Everybody wants more confirmation. And the problem with more confirmation is that your risk gets bigger to your stop.
Right.
And the financials of your risk reward is also wrong. Generally, if you wanted to do this, you could just be a buyer of puts out of the money.
That's a great idea.
Then you just see out the 3-month window that's worrying you, or the 6-month window. So even buy a year and a half out to expiry, and then just close them, and you just get your insurance. So the way I treat this is insurance for all the risks that you mentioned. But the longer you leave it, and the more it comes down, a lot of that value goes away.
Yes. That's the essential challenge of day trading, is that the profit is in the move often. Like in other words, the actual move is the profit that you are chasing sometimes.
Yeah. I'll just highlight on a lower time frame. You're already getting a little bit of selling wicks on these two candles. Maybe I should make this a bit bigger. The rest of the audience are probably squinting. But you're already getting a tiny bit. Now you can only go so far with a 4-hour on something that moves up so strongly. But you could put a stop there, and you could go and you could ask, listen, run the base of the two candles. You've essentially had two shooting stars here. Don't forget, that's why I'm going. And Apple is one of the constructs. So I gave you the Apple short on a blow off as well, which would be feeding into this NASDAQ cash market as some degree. It's the biggest market cap participant, is it? Or is NVIDIA taking it? I'm battling to keep up with who's the biggest nowadays, but Apple's still got to be up there. So that could be a candlestick short. If we trade up today, you don't get put short. Okay, fine. We go up a bit more. But if you trade down, you've got your stop at the top of the taller of the second wick. And you could get risk all the way down to there. And if I go back up to that daily time frame, and it becomes part of a more sustained move down, and then it's drama, Facebook advertising is falling, small businesses. A lot of the advertising is actually small businesses on Facebook as well. And they get crushed when the consumer gets crushed. They aren't all insulated like Microsoft and Amazon that are sitting with the defense contracts that the statists are throwing at them. Eventually it starts to hit Meta.
I'll be honest with you, we do a little bit of advertising on Facebook, and it's really weak. It's definitely, you definitely see. That was fascinating. Thank you for that annotation. That was a really, really cool annotation. So we're going to put you short NASDAQ, Francis. I just talked you into the NASDAQ short trade with a top.
Well, I'm going to say that's basically the same, very close to being the same trade of short Apple at the moment.
Yeah,
so there's
fine.
a lot of
we're going to double up on your thesis. How about you, Gary?
You.
Exactly. I'm making a trace for you. Yes, short NASDAQ, one lot. Right. We'll keep it simple.
Okay.
Gary,
did you get the
stuff? You got Euro Kiwi. You take me back into the FX world. I haven't even looked at FX today. So what's in the FX world that's interesting today?
All right. So I'm going to be taking a look at the Euro New Zealand dollar. Now, there's a couple of things, right? We got looks like we're not going to get a big gap in the open of the stock market. So which means that we're really not going to get a directional bias based on risk off. But I'm going to go then back to the technicals here, setting it up on the Euro New Zealand dollar. Now, we got a key level of support right here on the daily time frame, key level that the market's been testing. And we've seen the market bounce off this level quite a few times. And so what I'm going to do is I've seen a lot of fair value gaps sitting up here a little bit higher up. We're certainly not going to target that, not in this show, because it's going to take us a long time to get to that point. But what I'm seeing here is opportunity. So if I go to a 1 hour time frame, I can see the market try to go ahead and test it high. We've moved back to a support level right here. And we've seen this big wick sitting up over here. This is due to the data that came out this morning. And so this, if you watch the euro New Zealand dollar, it tends to move in the same direction as the dollar. And this bothers me a little bit because I am looking to sell off the dollar. So this will be almost like a hedge against my ETH trade. And so I'm going to take on a buy on this. We're expecting price to look for these liquidities areas here, right here.
Okay.
And I'm seeing a liquidity high right there at 75 at 22. I think it's a good place to go ahead and buy right now because we are at a key level of support. We haven't seen a crown pattern, but we do have a head and shoulders pattern sitting up here.
Right.
And so another thing that's also important right here is, of course, the market's come back to test the backside of this trend line as well after the breakout. So I'm going to go with a buy, and I'm just going to go very conservative on this one right here.
Half a lot?
Yeah.
Okay.
If it allows me, let's see if I've got the equity to do it. Yeah.
We're in. We have margin. Can I just ask you one last question about this chart? What are those red dots on and green dots above the candles?
These are swing points. These swing points of the market, basically giving me some swing points.
Now, are they proprietary? Like, what makes those? What populates those swing points?
It's an indicator. It's an indicator. We've got certain rules and indicators that are plotting this information right here.
Interesting. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
gentlemen, we have a limited time, so I wanted to spend just a couple of minutes talking about the kind of education both of you offer. And maybe, Gary, you can start us off, and then we'll talk to Francis. Now, Gary, you've been in the education business for quite a while. I'd love to know, what is it that you guys do, and what special offer you could provide for our audience right now?
Okay, sure, absolutely. So currently right now, what we do have running at the moment right now is we've got what we call sponsored pro offers, and really what we do here at Traders Network Club is we provide trade signals, trade ideas. And we have trading rooms. And we have, of course, ways to be able to connect. If you can actually share my screen right now, I can give you a little more information.
Yeah. Can you? Is it trading room in Discord? Is it a web page? How many trade signals do you guys generate like a day? What sort of give us a little bit of a life in a day of Traders Network Club?
So we trade. We give about one of our signals provide around about 185 trades per month. We have others.
5 trades per month.
185 trades out of 5 currency pairs.
That's
and then
great.
we also have what we call our DAO sessions as well, and they provide I can actually go over here and take a look at the actual results here, and I can go to the amount of trades that is generating just in this. So just this month alone, we've gone 75. How many? So we're halfway through the month. 75 trades have been implemented already.
Like basically about 6 to 7 trades a day is what you're doing.
Correct, yes. Right. And we're producing anywhere. Now, this is the Dow trade. This is the Dow sort of session where it starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, and we have the live session up until around about just after 9:30 when the Dow opens, and then we position ourselves based on risk on, risk off. So just as I spoke about it early on, we look for the gap in the market, and then we decide on a risk on, risk off type of environment. We look at 16 currency pairs. We've actually excluded the JPY crosses. We think they are currencies from hell. So we've decided to eliminate the JPY crosses, but we focus now on the other 12.
Right.
And we're doing pretty solid. We provide sessions from 8 o'clock in the morning all the way through to 10 o'clock in the morning.
This is New York time, right? New York time?
New York time, yes. Okay. But more importantly, that's the thing here. The biggest thing here, and I've been doing this for on 30 years, the biggest thing that we provide is people that are new in trading. They struggle to get started, and so we don't just talk the talk. We're doing that as well. We're actually following through, which means that we do live trading in these sessions. It's live money, and again, live trading actually with the students. They're following us as we're doing these live trades. So if we gain, they gain. If we lose, they lose. And
now,
so
just to understand, are they logging into a web page? Are they logging into Discord? Where's the live trading happening?
we have a Discord channel, but we also do live streaming. Yeah, so it's all through our Discord channel and our live streaming platform.
Cool. Okay, all right, sounds great. Francis, how about you? I know you have a very strong education package as well, and you obviously, I think you have a little bit of a different approach because you're more of a long-term, positional trader, as we talked about it. But I'd love to know what kind of things you provide.
Yes, thank you for giving us the opportunity to that. Can I first just talk about the Euro New Zealand? Is an interesting one that Gary was putting up. So just a response because you asked him about a currency. Funnily enough, we also see the Euro potentially doing better. Everyone loves to hate the Euro. All fiats are failing at various degrees, but in the comparative game of fiat, we actually see that there will be a bit of strength coming in for the Euro. And one of our community trades that we've sourced and is shared in and that we're currently long is actually a Euro CAD. So we see the Canadian being a little bit hit. I think that's close to home for you, Boris. I'm not sure. I think there's some links.
Canada is a disaster. I talk to my son works in Canada, and we talk about this every day. That it's just until the government changes there, I think you can short the loonie, with your eyes closed and no problems.
It does seem like Marxism on toast there, with especially the recent, the 66% beyond 250K tax. This is somebody who's trying to drive his most productive people to go offshore, and we are welcoming them.
But I will say, if Canadians have an election and they turn conservative, as it's almost every single poll is showing, that actually would be a great turning point for the loonie. But up until that point, I think you're right to be long EuroCAD.
So we like that one. That's the weekly, and there was actually a setup. So what do we do personally, which, while this is an example of one of many in currencies, gold, precious metals, all of them, we trade compressions. Volatility compressions lead to strong breakout moves. We want fast moves that take you immediately away from your entry with very tight resistance because you've stops because you've had the compression in the price behavior that's got super tight, is well supported, and that allows you to have very tight stops, and then you often get very expansive moves. You'll see that that was the weekly squeeze, but I've dropped it down to the daily, and you actually had this a squeeze within a squeeze. So we've been long EuroCAD since here. So even though
squeeze within a squeeze, that's a Francis Hunt special. I love that. Okay.
Yes. We sometimes say squeezy Japanesey. We love trading the yen, unlike Gary that says it's a widowmaker. In fact, we've used it as a hedging currency a lot when we've gone risk on. The USD JPY longs are very good if you get a sudden bout of dollar strength, because it nearly always shows some of the most, because of the structural aspects of debt and the very low interest rates in Japan. They get the biggest beating when the dollar gets strong, generally, as a general rule. So that's worked really well. In terms of what we do, this is our community platform. Essentially, there's education, there's setups, there's trading across all currencies. This is bespoke. We don't use Discord, Slack groups, or anything. No one's going to scrape your details. We're very big on the privacy. We think it's too much surveillance finance for our liking. This comes with an app, so I'm also showing you in the phone. You can see it's got setups. It's got all the different markets, so you can search by markets, crypto, commodities, FX, everything, and you'll find the individual setups. Here's something, for example, that's fidelity on crypto, that's got a squeeze within a squeeze, and it's 4 different time frames. Everybody is doing the same thing. With traders, it's like herding cats. Everybody is compliant, and we're saying this is our core focus, and this is what we're posting. There's not head and shoulders and Bollinger Bands this and pivot levels and somebody doing this, a multitude of alternatives. Everything is focused on.
Interrupt you, but I love that you have a defined process here. It looks like every single trade has a macro trend, pattern, and trigger.
That's it. Each one you can click in. So there's 4 views. They have got to present 4 views of it. Everybody is doing the exact same thing. Everybody looks for it. There's the squeeze. That's the macro. He's showing an inverted head and shoulder. Here's a squeeze coming up. You go into the pattern that comes up. There's a channel showing it's upward, and there's the pattern itself with the targets generated. All our members, once they've done enough manual draws, they get a tool that does it automatically, that spits out the risk rewards, the interim levels, the funnels, the full-on targets, everything. So once you're in our community for more than a year, you get that. There's a detail and a write-up. You can participate in the chat on that particular setup, or you can go into the chat groups talking about crypto generally, gold generally. they're all here. So the chat groups all done on a WhatsApp style, but not WhatsApp. So no one scrapes your phone number and starts sending you buy my whatever scam token or anything like that. So privacy is very important. There's the guys talking about equities in general, talking about specifics. So if you want to talk generally and it's not about a setup, you can go and talk there. And then all our content, recorded content, is in the course material. So you go in there, professionally studio recorded, HVF method, how we do it. So everybody's watched through it, and there's tests at the end. So we really, really focused on making sure that people get a full learning experience, that they pass the tests, and then they go on and they implement that. So everybody is doing the same thing. That's when you have real community, when you have a group of people all focused. So it's a laser beam focused on that one event. Most of the time, you shouldn't be in the market. You must be there at that unique moment when you get compression within compression, where you get an asymmetry of overall reward to the upside and super tight stops. This is your halo. This is your halo. And that's where we focus. And then you can watch all the content. You can comment below, and you can see this is a very active community that's been going on for about 15 years. We continue to upgrade it. We continue to upgrade the app. It's on where you go. You hear exactly what I think every day. I do video-based updates. I do text, and I leave voicemails, etc. And you can trade with me on our live trading days. I've got an offer for everybody watching, by the way. Our next live trading day, because they are battle friends of the battle trading battle, they can have a live trading day, which is a single day experience, 1.5 hour traditional markets, 1.5 hour crypto, for 50% off what we normally charge. It's normally $197. In fact, I think I can get permission to do that for $97. They just need it. We'll pass on a special code. So they just have to go trade battle in the code. They can come and join us for 3 hours. They can have access to the recording for a full month thereafter. And, thank you for giving us an opportunity to tell you what we're all about.
Okay. And that sounds great. And of course, those of you who are interested in taking advantage of Gary's offer, it's actually just a deposit with ACAP, our favorite broker, the broker that sponsors our show. You just simply make a deposit at ACAP, and you get access to all of Gary's work and Gary's signals. It's a great 1-2 combo. I think it's fascinating. I also find it, it's really, really interesting. This is so true about the markets. One trader will find one instrument absolutely maddening. The other one just makes it his money tree. I hate trading gold. I mean, I can talk gold all day long, but I just have gold really drives me nuts. There are guys in my room that do nothing but literally pass 20 prop tests trading gold using the exact same tools that I create, my own tools. I cannot use them myself, but they do. And that, I think, is very interesting, because you really need to understand your own strength, your own methodology, your own approach, which is kind of fascinating. Speaking of that, comes our final challenge of the day, which is understanding your opponent's weakness. This is my favorite challenge because it is just truly the most evil one we create here at Trading Battle. We do something called the sabotage trade. Now, the sabotage trade means you pick, and we're going to make it equal size. So let's say one lot each. So sizing is not going to be the issue, but you have to pick the instrument and a direction for your opponent. And the idea here is you're trying to pick the absolute worst possible trade. Of course, the greatness of the markets is what you think could be the worst trade could actually turn out to be the best trade. So you could actually be helping your opponent. That's why the sabotage trade is so fascinating. We make the trade now, and then, of course, at the end of the week, when we tally the results are ended, we're going to tally up and see how that trade works. So I'm going to give Gary the first attempt here. What is the worst possible trade that you can make in the market today for the next couple of days that you would like to land in Francis's portfolio? What's your choice?
All right. Well, I am, like I said, I mentioned I was definitely short on dollar. So I'm looking at, for instance, I'm looking at gold, and I'm looking for gold to actually rally. I'm looking for the crypto market to rally. So I'm going to ask Francis to go ahead and short Bitcoin.
You're going to Francis to short Bitcoin.
I want to ask.
I see. I love this trade, and I bet you Francis is like, give me more, because he's probably thinking Bitcoin is going to pop.
I want you to load this on. I want you to load as much as you can, short Bitcoin.
All right. Anyway, fine, Francis. You obviously have no choice. You must accept his trade, but we're going to make it standardized. One same amount of notional size. So we'll do one lot of Bitcoin. Now it's your choice to find the most evil trade, the trade that you would want your worst enemy to have in their portfolio. What would you like Gary to do for the next couple of days?
Be nice, Francis. Be nice.
Yeah. I give a bit of color just before I reply on that one. Actually, Bitcoin concerns me, and I think it's got a down leg in it. So I'm not overly mortified by this. I think it's leaning on the 67K quite a bit. By the way, you had very positive news that was dollar weak, and most of that move has fizzled. I think I would have already taken the profits on ETH personally on the long side. So in terms of me, crypto is not showing a great amount of spine. That doesn't mean the end of the week is the catch. When the minute you put a time frame on it, it's difficult. It could inch along. We're what, Wednesday today, or it's Thursday today. So it's only really what's left of today and Friday on it. So I'm not expecting too much. I think I'll probably lose a bit of money on the Bitcoin trade, closed on it. It'd probably inch a little bit up, but it wouldn't shock me if next week it does actually fall below the 67 and start a down leg of more greater significance. I might not benefit from that. So Andrew might have done a good job of sabotaging me. Actually, in terms of my short, I actually think I'd like to give Gary the long on Apple to keep pumping the Apple.
That's wild. That's wild.
And I think he must be a late arrival to the momentum and say, no, the market didn't really fully understand it. This is AI. It must go higher. And I want him to short that red candle that I'm seeing. Go long that red candle I'm seeing there, basically.
Okay. Well, that's actually, honestly, that's so interesting, Francis. We've never had an instance in Trading Battle where your long was your opponent's short. So if you're right, the spread is going to be massive. If you're wrong, you'll get crunched. But that's what makes that's what makes trading sense.
Can I make another comment? The safest thing to do would have actually put him in a crypto trade because of the inherent volatility.
I love the fact that
I'm doing this for fun.
Falls to the wall risk.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. Well, let me break down the chart that he just given me. So you giving me Apple, and you want me to short Apple? Is that right?
No. You want me to go long.
Okay. You want me to go? Okay. You want me to go long on Apple? All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and put the order in right now, just to go ahead and make sure.
Yeah, I don't know. We might have to wait till the market opens because on the Apple, because our market opens in about half an hour. See, it's not, so the instrument is not available. So we're going to put that trade on. The producers will put the trade on. Everybody from Trading Battle, this is really an amazingly fun Trading Battle. We're obviously going to have the full tally in a couple of days. So be sure to subscribe so that we can notify everybody of what the results are. And we will keep a tally of all this. It's been a really, really, really fun ride through all the markets with everybody, and I hope you guys truly enjoyed it. I want to know if we have, just asking my producer if we have any final questions from the audience. But be sure, of course, as always, to sign, to comment, and if you have any questions in the comments, we'll be happy to answer them in a second. I'm just waiting to see if my producer has any questions for us. But no more questions from everybody. I love the show. I hope you guys truly, truly enjoyed it. I want to thank both the participants. They are great warriors in the Trading Battle. Francis Hart, the market sniper. Gary Fichardt, big dog FX. He definitely is the big dog. So many interesting ideas, so much interesting fun. I hope you guys all had a great time. I certainly did. I'm Boris Schlossberg. I'll see you guys in the markets for the Trading Battle. We're out.